All right, 86 Boxing Haven. Joshua here, along with Slaven. How's it going, Slaven?
Yeah, it's going fine. Good that you got my name right.
Yeah, got it right. Finally, let's see how long I can keep this up. Good stuff, though. So yeah, we had a lot of good boxing action last night. There were a number of events going on at once. We had the Zone going on at the same time as the Showtime pay per view, at the same time as the ESPN card or ESPN Plus, whichever one. So Top Rank, Matchroom, and PBC, the Premier Boxing Champions, all going at it head to head. But hey, it turned out to be a pretty decent night of boxing from an overall perspective.
Yeah, it sure did. Wow. Yeah.
Now we can probably jump straight into it then, given such. Now I know you've seen this one, I'm sure, and this would be Vasyl Lomachenko against Nakatani. I can't remember his first name, but I would say that was probably the biggest fight of the weekend.
Yeah, it was, wow. Loma is back, of course, with a vengeance, as I thought he would be. Yeah, he really he did his thing, and he was simply dominant. Nakatani was Yeah, he was trying to be competitive, but he didn't really manage to land that much, I guess.
Yeah,
But yeah, all in all, he was simply dismantled, you could say, by Loma, and yeah, of course, stopped in the ninth round. So that was a good stoppage as well, I thought, by the referee. And
I agree. I agree. Ninth round stoppage win for Vasily Lomachenko in his comeback fight after taking on Teofimo Lopez in his last fight in which many felt he lost, some felt it was a draw. There may have been a few who thought he might have won as well. But all in all, we all felt that it wasn't the same Loma we were accustomed to seeing. And what we saw here tonight was a man, or last night rather, was a man possessed. I would say he was determined to show that he is still that guy. He should still be ranked in your top five pound for pound, and he should not be discredited for that performance that took place when he took on Teofimo Lopez. Now, I don't know how much of that had to do with the shoulder for which he had surgery after the fight, but I will say that this version of Loma came out with a purpose that I hadn't really seen since Loma early on when he first jumped into the scene, and he did all the things that made us sort of fall in love with the fact that this guy was one of, if not the top boxer in the world. And I give him even more kudos for the fact that he was able to do this to Nakatani, who, for all intents and purposes, is a very tough fighter who showed that he's durable. And I, for one, wouldn't have thought that it would have been Loma to actually stop him, but it was Loma putting on such a display that I think that he overwhelmed anything that Nakatani could try and muster up.
yeah, and Nakatani is also, I believe, so far Loma's tallest opponent, if I'm not
Oh yeah,
mistaken. He's like 5'11" and a half, so it's quite quite a jump there.
yeah, definitely.
Height disadvantage, let's say.
Yeah, and that was very visible. You could see it at the weigh-ins and everything. So it
Yeah,
was also going to be interesting to see how he handled that. But he passed it. He showed you if you're a shorter fighter going against someone taller, this is the type of performance you want to look at right here.
yeah, definitely. He was simply he knew how to beat this guy, and yeah, just perfect game plan, of course, perfectly executed. Yeah,
Yeah, and Nakatani, he had went the distance with Teofimo Lopez, and he actually gave Lopez trouble in that fight.
yeah, I didn't see it, but I saw that he did go this time. Then I first said, well, I don't know if Loma will be able to stop him. First I thought maybe not, but then just before, I was supposed to make a prediction for this this group that I'm in. So I suddenly, said to myself, well, maybe he can pull off a late stoppage. So I just picked him to win by a 10th round. It's actually
Yeah.
10th round corner retirement. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No mas. This was no Chinko here. We saw
yeah,
tonight. Type
no
that.
mas.
Put it on him. No
Yeah,
Chinko. So yeah, I think he's right back into the playing cards as far as one of the top dogs in the sport. And I feel like this version of Loma against whatever version of Teofimo Lopez comes about after the Convulsos fight, which he has to, of course, go through and win.
yeah,
But I think that this version of Loma focus as such, if we see him in there with Teofimo Lopez, I think that it's going to not only bring out the best in Loma, but I think it may even take us to a new level as far as what we see from Teofimo Lopez. And I don't think that will necessarily be a bad thing. He's a young fighter, and he's shown that he's willing to get in there with the top guys, and he got in there with Lomachenko at a time when a lot of the other younger fighters weren't really willing to do so. So I think that this is just going to spell for good things for both fighters moving forward.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lopez is confident. His dad is confident. So I think, regardless of the outcome, he seems to have the type of will to push forward, win, lose, or draw.
You know, as I said, when I was I make some prediction videos as well on YouTube. So I said I'm not sure whether the fact that Loma lost that fight, even though I had it to draw. Well, anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure if that had so much to do with him being injured, or or if it was simply about Teofimo being so good. So
Yeah,
that's I think a question that will be answered if and when they have a rematch, of course.
100% agree. 100% agree. Now, in the co-feature of that, did you catch the Rob Brandt fight against Janabek? I know was his first name, last name hard to
That
pronounce.
guy, Johnny Beck, something like
Noe.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Janabek.
no, I didn't actually. No, no, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, it was a master display by the Kazakh. He actually all but dismantled Rob Brent. Of course, had found some success in winning a title over Ryota Murata.
what? Yeah,
But this fight, he was pretty much out of it from the jump because this Kazakh fighter, he's very very patient and he's
mm,
skilled, of course, but he's very patient and very aware of his placement, especially when it comes to the jab and straight, and that's what he was basically hitting Brent with all night. And he's a southpaw, so that just added to the mix.
that's what I like. About those fighters from that part of the world. They are usually very focused and patient. And very tough, of course, usually. So
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
didn't
and
catch that fight, but I will try to find it.
oh yeah. Yeah, well, we've talked about this before. Those guys are coming in with a ton of amateur experience. Same with him. I know he had
Yeah,
over 300 amateur wins. Apparently, they were saying during the broadcast. So you really can't just you can't account for that outside of actually being that type of fighter. You can't account for that whether you're pro or amateur unless you've just been in the mix. You've seen everything when you have that number of fights. So that usually speaks to and spells for success when you do get to the next level.
yeah, that's definitely something you might call an advantage they have over many fighters in the West United States who, well, may not all have so much amateur experience anyway. And yeah, it's a completely different school. Let's put it that way. The
No, yeah, it
Yeah,
is
the Eastern school and Western, yeah, very different. I would say. Yeah.
good to go. So There was also a card. The Zone had a card from Guadalajara, Mexico, and it was actually the first Canelo Promotions type of card in conjunction with Matchroom. So Canelo put his footprint into that promotional game here with this card. It took place, of course, in his hometown, Guadalajara. So it had a lot of fighters out of Mexico that were involved in it. Main event, of course, being Julio Cesar Martinez against Cordova, this other Mexican
Yeah,
fighter. What is his first name? Last name Cordova.
yeah,
This
Julio or
was
something, I think. Yeah.
yeah, flyweight championship on the line, WBC, and I don't know if you were able to catch any of that. Were you?
No, unfortunately,
Eh,
I didn't. Yeah, that's
Cool.
another I will try to see to get hold on anyway, at least the highlights or whatever. I know that guy Martinez. I read that he won impressively. So
Yes, yes, yes. It was yeah, you know the thing about it, this was their main event. It was on at the same time when all three were running simultaneously. As I was mentioning, you had the Showtime
oh yeah,
and the ESPN. So I had it each up on three different devices. I was trying to watch a mix of them as best I could because at the same time this fight was going on, Erickson Lubin versus Jason Rosario
oh
was going
yeah,
on, which we could discuss. But it was a very good performance by Martinez, and I would say that Cordova he actually showed some spark and had some fight in him as well. There were some back and forth moments, and he had some good shots that he was able to get off on Martinez. And Martinez, he's a very exciting fighter, and he's one of those fighters who seemingly has mastered the art of not having a jab because he seldom throws a jab, and everything is basically a power punch in some form or fashion. And he's made it work for him. And I just must say, you just gotta like a fighter like that who, hey, all things considered, he's just there to fight, regardless of whatever. Forget the technique. He's just there to throw punches and do what he does.
hmm. Yeah. You gotta appreciate those type of fighters, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, so he maintains his title. You know, he actually, you know, he had beat Jay Harris, this other little he was like sort of up and
oh
coming
yeah,
UK fighter. And Jay Harris actually lost this weekend as
that's
well.
true. Yeah, yeah. In the 10th round, yeah, it was
Yeah, so
yeah,
Jay,
he didn't look very well, very pretty after the fight. I saw the short interview with him.
and then there
So,
was a little controversy on it or something had to do with getting hit while he was down or something of that nature. Can't remember
oh,
the exact details, but there was
yeah,
some type of controversy in that regard. But
yeah.
Jay Harris,
The British fighters don't have a very good record against the Latin American fighters. That's pretty famous, I guess.
oh yeah, without a doubt. So yeah, Jay Harris just lost to another Latin American fighter this past I think it was Saturday or maybe this was Friday. This may have been Friday. Yeah, this was Friday, I believe. He lost to another fighter, Sandoval, last name Sandoval, a young guy that didn't know much about Latin American fighter. He was able to stop him to the body. So hey, the record keeps going. But yeah, Martinez looked good, but that was on the DAZN card. So DAZN, yeah, they've been doing a good job putting on some pretty decent cards. I was able to catch all of that card. Let me see what else was on there. Anything noteworthy that some others may know of? Oh yeah, they do mention the Harris fight, but yeah, that took place a little bit before. But yeah, it was a pretty decent card. But that aside, of course, the other big fight we know of course, was that Showtime pay per view and Gervonta Tank Davis taking on Mario Barrios in what was a 140-pound, I believe, WBC regular or WBA regular, which one of the or WBA super lightweight championship,
Yeah,
which is basically a 100 regular 140-pound championship. Of course, we all know that the guy at 140 is Josh Taylor, so
yeah,
this belt, in a sense, doesn't carry much weight. But That being said, it was a fight that took place, and it's probably confusing now that I think about it for a casual fan to see that this was a title fight when
Oh,
these guys are the guys at 140, and this was actually Davis's first fight at 140. So it's just a whole mess with what boxing is. But anyway,
oh yeah.
um, I was able to catch this. I don't know if you've seen the highlights or anything.
Yeah,
I was
I actually saw the whole thing. I was
oh,
able
cool,
to
cool,
find it. So
cool.
yeah, it was
The big fight.
wow. Yeah.
That's the big fight you meant. I thought you meant the Julio Cesar Martinez Cordova fight was that the second big fight, but
Oh
you're
no,
right.
no, no, no. This was the
This is definitely bigger.
yeah. Wow, that was some fire. Oh man, really. I think both guys have actually gained some new fans. I mean, Barrios for sure.
Yeah,
I think gained some new fans because he really showed he's got a lot of
tough
guts, a lot
kid.
of toughness. Yeah, at first it was a little, Gervonta started a little bit cautious, a little bit more defensive, and I saw that the first 3 or 4 rounds at the end the scorer gave to Barrios because he was simply more active, I
Yeah,
guess. But he didn't really land that much. But then kind of Gervonta he kind of started to up the pressure, the
yeah,
game. So he and it was very brave of in the ninth round. It was, I believe, when Barrios was dropped twice. Was
yeah, yeah. I believe it was. I
it?
believe it
He,
was.
yeah, it was very tough. I mean, it was very gutsy. He got up and then he finished the round throwing, and he came back for the next round again strong. But it was too late. He was already, the damage was done. And then, of course, in the
Yeah,
11th, he
yeah.
was
And Tank had full confidence in what he was able to do at that particular point. You could tell by how he was approaching him as far as his offense that he wasn't worried about anything coming back from Barrios at that point.
yeah,
Um, But yeah, I thought it was a very good fight as well in terms of providing that form of entertainment that the casual boxing fan will like. I do think that Barrios, in a sense, he was a bigger fighter, of course, but he wasn't the type that was going to really take Davis to that next level. And I think that he probably came into the fight sort of as the B side, which is what everything indicated anyway, that he was a B side fighter. And I think he was content with that. And he had a good showing in there. But I don't think he offered anything that provided a true threat to Tank in a way that, fans who really follow the sport would think that he was ever going to be in any real trouble or anything of that nature.
yeah,
And I
that's
think that is the thing that I want to see sort of in this next iteration of whatever it is that Tank does, who he takes on, whatever weight he's at. I want to see him take on someone that we're going to legitimately feel has a chance at really giving him a fight.
yeah,
To this point, I still feel that his best win is Jose Pedraza, and I feel it's looked even better as time has gone on, especially seeing what Pedraza has done. That being said, I haven't had a feeling, even with Leo Santa Cruz in that fight, that these were fighters that were going to really trouble Davis in a way that I viewed it as one he could potentially lose. Of course, anything could happen, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think Paris was just there. It was just how should I say it? A stepping stone, I guess, for Davis to take also another world title and just look good against the guy who is so much taller, and bigger. I guess like a test to his punching power also to see if he
Yeah,
can stop a guy that size. Perhaps I don't know. But did you also catch Floyd Mayweather? He looked like Mr. T, like with all those golden chains.
I did make a comment about that in this group on Facebook in terms of his antics and him being at ringside.
He looked like he was really, he was growing. How you say, enjoying his position as the big boss, the big mentor.
Yeah, only with Floyd is that allowed, where he can shell out instructions right there at ringside in the middle of a fight. Only in Vegas, right? So anything can
Yeah,
happen in boxing. You could say it's just one of those things. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement in that regard. Barrios, if you look at his resume, of course he hadn't really fought anybody coming into this fight, so it's a
yeah,
wonder if there was even a title on the line in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. He
Uh,
was one of those, as they call them, alphabet champions. Simply,
yeah, alphabet champion to the highest order.
that
But
that almost nobody knows that they are the champions. When you find out,
uh,
oh, he has a world title. Like,
yeah, like oh wow, that is crazy.
yeah, cool for him.
All of the old timers are rolling in their graves right now. But yeah, it was one of those things. I think it'll be a test. We'll see what Davis's buying power is as far as this was a pay per view, and he this might have been his second pay per view or something of that nature. I can't remember. This might have been his second time doing a pay per view. I think the Gamboa fight was that. I think that was
Oh
a
yeah,
pay per view as well. So we'll see because there was a tweet. I just had to bring this up. Where someone it had a lot of activity on Twitter. Someone saying that he was a mega star, and I don't think he's at that mega star level. He's a star, but
yeah.
mega star. But they were throwing him in with the likes of Muhammad Ali, freaking
Wow, that's
Canelo.
too soon.
He's not the biggest star in the sport right now, but alone a mega star to the likes of Ali, Tyson, and all that. It's just this funny thing that that we saw thrown out there, and I saw the person that posted it had gotten a lot of heat in that
Yeah,
regard.
I hope he won't. I mean, one guy said he wrote that he reminds him too much of Bronner. I hope he will not, end up like Adrian Bronner
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way. Where
yeah.
because his ego just kind of ruined his whole career, you might say. Yeah,
So some things that have been thrown around now, and he even mentioned this, was him being considered top 10 pound for pound after this Barrios fight, where he to get the win. And I'm sorry, but I just don't think this does it. When you're talking top 10 pound for pound, no. We're going to need to see more. He's going to need to fight one of the top guys at 135, one of the top guys at 140, or one of the top guys at 130, which he hasn't done yet.
you
Unfortunately,
know,
he hasn't fought one of the top guys yet. At least in the
no,
last
no, of
few
course.
years.
Yeah, it seems like he's like circumnavigated just his way through. But I don't think he will stay at 140. I don't think this may
Yeah,
have been just, just so he can say, "Oh, I won a world title at 140 as well." It
yeah,
may be just that, for him because he's simply I don't know. Of course, he can fight at that weight, but it's not the ideal weight for him physically.
yeah.
I think because of his stature and all that.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does next. Maybe it's 135, and if so, hey, there are some guys out there.
Yeah.
Devin Haney is one of them who comes to mind, who I think
Oh
would be
yeah,
a challenge for sure.
that would be a really good one, good fight. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So we'll see for sure. Now on the co-main for that card, it was Erickson Lubin taking on Jason Rosario, aka Banana.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
I was just about to watch the highlights.
Cool. Yeah, I caught it. I was able to catch it, of course, simultaneously while watching something else. And I felt like both of them were looking pretty much like the same type of fighter there early on throughout that fight in terms of both fighters having suffered some stoppage losses, very
Hmm.
cautious. You can see that they're skilled.
And to the
Both
same guy as well.
yeah, and both still somewhat susceptible to a big punch. And it was actually Lubin that hurt Rosario first. And he had him wobbling and stumbling to the corner, and he just barely made it to the corner. And then he came out the next round. I forget which round this was, but he came out immediately in that next round. And he was able to hurt Lubin, and he actually shook Lubin up and had him on shaky legs before ultimately, a round or two later, Lubin was able to kind of dial it in and work to that body. And it was the body shots that proved again to be Rosario's downfall. So that's what allowed for Erickson Lubin to get that victory over Rosario. But he showed some very good moments, some flashes of what we expected from Lubin, especially early on in his career prior to that fight with Charlo. But I did come out of it thinking that I don't think those cobwebs have fully been shaken off from that knockout loss he took at the hands of Charlo, which was, for all intents and purposes, if we sum up the decade or this last decade, it's going to be one of the top knockouts of the last decade.
Yeah. When you're a guy like Lubin, you're a puncher, a destroyer, and then you get destroyed yourself, that of course does something to your whole ego, to everything, to your confidence. But I think he's kind of bounced back pretty well
Yeah.
recently, and I did actually pick him to win this fight, so I was right
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
end.
yeah, and I did the same. I didn't post it anywhere or anything, but I was thinking the same thing. I thought it was close to 50-50, but I do give a slight edge to Lubin, just given that I think that overall he was the better fighter, better athlete. This
Yeah,
is
and I think I mean, his biggest win was against Julian Williams, who himself doesn't have so much except beating Jared Hurt to his
yeah,
resume. So, it's kind of, you don't really know what Rosario is really about. We know that
yeah,
he can punch, of course, and he's aggressive, but you are not sure if he's really that good or he just simply had a good night against Julian Williams. So I guess
yeah.
maybe that was the case also, simply, or he was able to nail him with a
Oh yeah, that was a night it worked out for him. He was a better man on that night.
yeah,
Um, he was able to take out Williams.
J Rock.
J Rock. But yeah, this should be interesting. So I saw a little bit of the post fight pressure. Lubin says he's ready for anyone. He didn't shy away from it, Charlo included. So we'll see if that is something. He becomes a mandatory now for at least one of those titles, maybe the WBC or something.
Yeah, he's always exciting to watch, I guess. I mean, that type of fighters, of course, they are uh, punchers. Yeah,
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
seldom be boring in a way.
yeah, definitely. And I think it might be a good fight for as long as it lasts with him and Charlo. Should they rematch again, I do favor Charlo, and I do think that Charlo is going to have that psychological edge over Lubin, just given what
Yeah.
we see in some of his last few fights. Because not only that, but I remember in Lubin's fight prior to this, he took on Terrell Goucher, who isn't really known for punching, and he was able to hurt Lubin later in the fight as well. Though Lubin was able to overcome it, but that just showed me that Lubin, he's gonna have to be a fighter that treads on thin water as far as taking huge shots is concerned. So he's going to need to be flawless on offense and at all points and stay focused at all points throughout a fight and throughout each round because he can be susceptible to being hit and at this point seemingly hurt as well. So we'll see what that bodes for him as far as his title chances.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and for my money, I think we're going to see the best two 154 pounders when we see Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano face
Oh
off
yeah,
here in their fight.
that's the one I'm really looking forward to, and
Yeah, me as well. A
whoever
lot
wins
of
that
people don't
will.
know Castano. A lot of people don't know him, but he's a big guy and he's tough and rugged.
Yeah, Castano. Yeah, he's very very good. I mean, he hasn't been beaten, and many thought that he should have gotten the decision against Lara. I
Yeah,
think many people, rather many. So yeah, he's a guy who will definitely give Charlo most likely his toughest fight. I think yet so
yeah. I
far.
think yeah, you're both on the same page there.
Yeah,
Uh,
Charlo is looking very strong, of course now, and but yeah, sooner or later he's bound to. I think kind of run into someone who will
yeah,
beat him. That's
yeah,
what
yeah. You know,
happens.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to see how that goes. If he wins this next fight, then yeah, he deserves legitimate consideration for that top 10 pound for pound
yeah,
because he will have
definitely.
become undisputed at 154 pounds.
Yeah, that will. He will definitely have the claim, to the top 10 and all that.
And I think he'll be the first in the four belt era for 154, if I'm not mistaken, to become undisputed.
Yeah,
If
there
he
have
does,
been so many in that division. I think undisputed champions.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, he'll be on the right side of history with that as
Wink,
well. So
yeah, Winky Wright. He had three belts. Yeah, that's right. When he
oh
beat
yeah.
Mosley.
Winky.
Yeah,
So I
but
guess at that particular time, yeah, it was just the three of them were being recognized. I forget which one was it. The maybe WBO wasn't being recognized,
yeah, that one was not on the line. I know.
not fully recognized
Yeah,
at least.
so no.
So yeah, so hey, big ups to Charlo if he can pull it off, or Castano as
Yeah,
well. Assuming that it's the same case if he takes all of those belts. So it's a big
he
fight.
seems he seems to be more willing to face the best than his brother right now. Anyway, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if did we have a discussion on those fights that took place?
Which ones?
The last fights, which were like Inoue and Charlo versus
No,
the
I don't think we did. We had, but I didn't really see Norway's last fight.
well, we can talk about them. So yeah, so since we're on that, yeah, I guess we did get to chat about those, but yeah,
Yeah,
uh, why not jump into it? Let's start with Charlo since we're on the one brother, but the other one, yeah, he took on Montiel. And yeah, this was for his WBC championship.
oh yeah, yeah,
Now I watched that fight. I watched it in its entirety, and I thought that it was a solid performance from Charlo as far as he pretty much won every round. Montiel proved to be tough as nails. He
yeah,
was taking some big shots, but Charlo wasn't able to get him out of there. And I think the fight in itself became a little bit, it came even better later on because of the fact that I think Charlo might have spent himself somewhat going for the knockout early on when he had Montiel pretty much all but out of there, seemingly on his feet. But Montiel refused to give up and withstood the test.
Yeah, I was a little bit. I mean, I was a little disappointed that Charlo didn't knock him out, but I guess I know how tough those guys can be from Latin America. So yeah.
Yeah, he had only been stopped by, interestingly enough, Jaime Munguia.
Oh yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah, Bungia. So I guess that says more about Bungia's pop, and maybe and one thing I said, maybe Charlo doesn't have the type of pop that he thinks he has, even
yeah,
though he's been
maybe.
able to get some people out of there. Some of it, I think, is going to come down to the timing, setting up the perfect punches with him.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have the right game plan. I don't know what it is, but he hasn't been scoring that many knockouts lately. That's for sure.
But
While
yeah,
Mungia is still, that guy who is, kind of making waves. I guess still destroying
yeah.
opponents.
I was able. Yeah, Mungia actually fought. I think it was last week. Yeah, as well. Yep, got a TKO 6 over Sarah's Meta, the guy who Triple G just
Yeah,
recently fought.
the Polish guy. Yeah,
Yeah, the Polish guy. So
I
this is
think
Sarah's Meta took his second loss.
it's pronounced Sheremeta, I believe.
Sarah's Meta, first name Camille.
Carmilla.
Camille.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he is like rather solid. I mean, he's not, of course, world class, but he was rather solid. I think.
yeah, very good boxer, of
Yeah,
course.
boxer.
He can't punch because he has a
Yeah,
low knockout percentage.
he
But
is
that
like
being said,
yeah,
he is a
technician.
skilled fighter for sure.
Yeah,
So I watched that, and I think it was Munguia basically continuing to come into his own. I really think that Jaime Munguia, his work under Eddie Reynoso, has done him some benefit now as he's moved forward. If I'm thinking right, he is working with Reynoso, right? Or am I thinking wrong?
mm.
Munguia, Reynoso. Let me see if I'm thinking right. I think he's working with Reynoso.
I think Munguia is just simply one of the most
I may
exciting
be wrong there.
fighters. Really, one of the most
Not
exciting.
Reynoso. It's El Terrible actually, because he's going to end up
Oh,
fighting Canelo one day
Morales.
with Eric Morales. So that's what I meant. Eddie Reynoso. So Munguia's work with Eric Morales, I think so far has been paying off. I see a bit more of a patient Munguia, and he seems to put his punches together better than when we saw him early on, when he was really just, you know, fight fire with fire, just going all in from the start of a fight. But I think that his work with Morales so far has him looking good. He was actually in there boxing. We know Morales was a great boxer, and offensively, he was one of the better boxers we've seen over the last 20, 30 years. So I think that is helping to refine Munguia's game, and he showed that in this fight with Sarah's Meta, where he really just kind of just broke him down tactically over the course of the fight.
Yeah, yeah. I really love watching Munguia. He's one of the most exciting fighters today, especially among younger fighters. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's gonna be. I think. I mean, he's already a star. I guess, but he
Hmm.
should be a major star. Also in the
Yeah.
future.
I agree. I agree. As he continues to get out there a bit more, and early on when I had first saw him when he was a little bit younger and still a bit raw, I thought it was just if he would have went up against one of the top guys at 154 at the time, which he was at, he would have had a lot of issues. But now I think that he's really starting to come into his own. He's starting to understand what he can do, understand boxing even more, just the game in itself. And I think that even here at 160, I could see him giving a lot of individuals some trouble. It'll be interesting to see how he does with the elite of the elites. But I think he's poised to be right up there with them.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's got the right size, the right everything to succeed.
Yeah.
160.
That when we can see him going up to even carrying it up to 168, 175. I mean, he
Yeah,
may end up
maybe.
155.
Yeah, he's. He had that one fight where he kind of didn't look that great against Dennis Duggan or so. I think it was,
Or Hogan,
or maybe yeah, that's right.
Dennis Hogan.
And then some people were, oh no, like very down, like very disappointed. I was like, it was just one fight, come on, like. And in the very next fight, he beat. I think when he beat Spike or Sullivan. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah, I watched that Hogan fight. Yeah, I thought Hogan edged him, but yeah, I think that Munguia is a better fighter now than he
yeah,
was then. If he were to fight Hogan again, I think he would stop him.
I mean everybody can have a lousy night, right? So
Yeah, yeah, I think that's all that was is a lousy night for him. But I think he's a better fighter at this point than he was a few years ago, and that's what you're looking for with a top level fighter. Are they improving? Are they getting better? And I think he certainly is.
yeah, definitely. If he were to fight Jamal now, wow, that would be a
Hey, it'll be
strong
very
fight,
interesting.
firefight. Yeah,
Yep, it will be very interesting. So on that same card, this is where Beck the Bully took on Gabriel Rosado. You
yeah.
see that situation where Beck the Bully, his name is Melakusiev. He's a Ukrainian or Uzbekistan
Oh
standing
yeah,
fighter.
yeah.
Uh,
That was a real surprise. I thought that he would win, but Rosado
one punch knockout from
iced him.
Gabriel
Yeah,
Rosado.
yeah. Wow, that was. I guess that was what it was. It was the difference in experience in pro fights.
Yes.
Maybe that worked for Rosado. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, that is what it was. Because of course, Melakusiev, um, Melakuziev, or Beck the Bully as they call
Yeah,
him, but he was really pressing Rosado. He made Rosado take a knee from body work, and it looked like that he was just legitimately about to just bully Rosado and get him out of there. And I think that in that sort of moment or sequence prior to this knockout, he may have been feeling himself a little bit too much and kind of coming in with his hands down. Just, and I think that he felt he could take Rosado's punches, but he just wasn't expecting this huge overhand right that ultimately took him out.
yeah. Why I like Rosado. He really never gives up. He just will. You can knock him down. He will get up and come straight at you and try to knock you out. So
Yeah, and
really
he's been a good run lately.
yeah, huge credit to him.
Yeah, we have to give it to him. A solid vet who's still hanging in there. Many people, myself included, thought that Daniel Jacobs would just run through him rather easily, but hey, he came away potentially winning that fight in the eyes of many. Um,
Yeah,
and he's just continuing to show that he's more than just a simple journeyman. He's still a player here in the
and
sport. So
he will
that
fight anybody. But that's what he's what I guess made his career go down a bit because he took too many fights against guys who are better. Simply, like Peter Quillen
oh yeah, yeah.
and Triple G, right? He
Yeah,
fought.
Triple
Yeah,
G. Yeah, yeah, he was in there with him. Yeah, he's been in with the who's who in and around those weights.
yeah.
So
So he simply, I guess, had a little bit too much. I don't know if it's too much confidence or I don't know. The money that kind of
mm,
swayed him. I don't know what it was, but that was a mistake. I think.
but yeah, I think this goes to show for those fighters who are, worried about an O or losing their O and whether that defines them as a fighter. Hey, it doesn't. You learn from losses just as you do from wins, and oftentimes
Yeah,
some of these hand me type wins that people get, they don't really learn from. anything that takes place in that fight because they probably have had better sparring in some of those situations. So
Mm.
if you continue to fight the best and you stay in there working, then you definitely have to learn and get better from doing such. Just fighting these layups isn't going to improve you on that sort of world elite stage. And I think Gabriel Rosado is proof of that. So he can get in there with the most elite. He can get in there with the top prospects, and you can see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, he will always, give it all he got and put in a good performance, good enough. So he hasn't really. I don't think he's been, of course, against Angulo, but that was a long time ago. He was stopped in only 2 rounds. But
Oh yeah,
in most other fights, he was kind of hanging on for a while before being stopped.
oh
So
yes, yeah. That's good stuff. So Gabe Rosado, Philly fighter.
yeah,
Um, that's good stuff. Also, let me see what do we have here. Oh yeah, Francisco Vargas fought this Gonzalez guy. I can't think of his first name. Isaac Gonzalez. Francisco Vargas
oh
took
yeah,
him on.
Vargas, yeah,
I was able to catch that fight. It was a fairly exciting fight. But Gonzalez Cruz or Isaac Cruz, he basically, I thought he deserved to die, and rightfully so. Vargas had been through a lot of wars and
yeah.
made his comeback not too long ago.
He's
And
been kind of ruined by Berchelt, I think.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, that yeah, and he apparently had surgery to on his eyes or whatever to help with, I guess, the scar tissue or something of that nature. He still was cut during his fight, of course, as expected. But yeah, he's one of those guys who he had a pretty solid run, but yeah, as far as him winning a title or anything of that nature at this point, yeah, I think that might be out the window.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. He's already won, but didn't get to keep it that long. So
Yeah,
he's that kind of guy, just comes along and wins the title against somebody who is on their way out. As Salido was, right? That was, yeah. Again,
yeah. And
yeah,
he could. I think he was. And yeah, he's been in sort of like one of those fight of the year type things, or maybe twice.
yeah. He has a
Uh,
strong year. Then next year, it's not. They don't do so well anymore.
so he made his stamp, or he stamped his name in the game for what it's worth with what he's done thus far.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. Oh, I see that Felix Sturm actually is still fighting, huh?
Oh
He
yeah, he came
in
back.
Germany at one.
I really don't know what he's still doing in the ring. He's like 42 now, but I know that he's had some legal problems, something I don't know,
Um,
involving money, of course.
oh
So
yeah,
maybe he needs money simply.
yeah, maybe. I know he's yeah. So Felix Sturm back in the mix. So Angelo Leo, who is this Mayweather promotion fighter, he got a victory over Almeida. I can't think of the guy's first name. I'm trying to see what it is. It was on that undercard of the Charlo fight, and I thought that Almeida did enough to get the victory. He's a Mexican fighter that not many people knew a ton about, but hey, he came in, ready to fight and did his thing. But yeah, Leo got the victory there. Then, of course, there was Inoue versus Das Martinez. Did you catch the aftermath of that?
The knockout, no, not yet. Actually,
Okay, that's
that
one
week
where
was
yeah,
yeah. I think that week I was too busy watching the football European Championship.
yeah, that is going on.
Yeah.
I tried to catch some stuff. I caught Austria versus North Macedonia when it first kicked off.
Oh,
A few weeks back, right there, maybe. But
yeah.
yeah, Naoya Inoue, he is legit. I
He's
mean,
a
top three pound
monster.
for pound. he could, hey, he might be in the argument for sort of just like pure punchers, biggest pure puncher in boxing. He's in that argument for
Yeah.
sure. He can just simply punch, you know.
Yeah, I think he doesn't get ranked as high as he should on top. I mean, pound for pound lists. That's one thing I remember. I discussed with some this guy.
I
Uh,
think, yeah, people are recognizing now even
yeah,
more
now
so
maybe. Yeah,
that
no,
he's legitimate.
I think he's top three definitely on
Yeah,
pound for pound. Yeah,
yeah. When I think about it, yeah, I think Canelo. I think him and then from there, I feel like there's some interchangeable type of stuff that could go on. But maybe Crawford, though, I would like to see Crawford get back in there soon. With someone, which I haven't really heard anything about what's next for Terrence Crawford.
yeah. It doesn't look like the fight with Spence is anywhere near to being made.
Now, so we're gonna get Spence Manny Pacquiao. I don't think we mentioned anything about that, but what do you
That
think of that fight at this
that
stage?
guy. He's like a bionic man. He's not really human, man. In fact,
Yeah,
he's like some kind of robot.
yeah. Manny is something else. He's still up in this thing, and he's legitimately taking on tough challenges. Reminds me of Bernard Hopkins. He really came into his own around this age where Manny is, or later in his career. And Manny seems to be like that, but unlike with Hopkins, Manny has had some of his biggest fights when he was younger, but he's
Yeah,
still out there doing the thing. With Hopkins, just give it his style and him being that middleweight. A lot of his biggest fights came later in his career, you
yeah. I
know.
think Manny won his first world title when he was 20, 21. I don't know, something like that. 20.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Manny has been at the height. He's not even at the height I would say now that he was probably like 6 years ago, 6 7 years ago. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
You
So
know
which is crazy.
when he lost that fight to Jeff Horn, everybody was like, now he's finished, definitely. And
Yeah,
that was like 4 years ago, right?
yeah, that's crazy. Even though he didn't deserve to lose that, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of people had wrote him off after that.
yeah, that was a close fight, definitely. I didn't score it, but I've seen it, and that was pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of rough house tactics from
Oh
Horn,
yeah.
which hey, he was good at.
Yeah,
Or-
or like he thought
but
he would like become the next Jeff Fennick or something, the hero of Australia, but that didn't turn out to be the case.
Nah, yeah, he was just very limited skill
Yeah,
wise. He was tough, definitely, but
Swarmer, yeah, Swarmer, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and you could see his limitations. And I think Crawford basically, yeah, it was just like a
yeah. That was
dismantling
a pretty
Crawford.
one-sided fight. I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He just basically dismantled him. But
Horn wasn't able to do anything that he wanted to do, of course.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the guy out of Australia now, I guess, is Tim Zoo. He's
Yeah,
like the big name now. So
yeah,
see big things for him
Peter.
as he continues to wade across international waters and things.
Yeah,
He has the name as well.
there's usually, I guess, some stigma, against those guys whose fathers were big stars.
Yeah,
But he does seem to have really genuine talent, and he hits hard also. So
yeah,
he has really inherited his father's talent. It's just not yet certain how much, of his.
yeah. I think he's going about it the right way. He's slowly stepped up his competition. So hey, can't be mad at him for that.
Yeah,
Um,
he's
I think
been.
Connor Bean looks good as well.
Yeah,
Similar situation.
Connor. That's right. I don't know really. And then we have also Ricky Hatton's son who has started
Yeah. So
Campbell.
Yeah, I was going to mention he's one where the verdict is still very much out because he's just still super raw, and I guess he didn't have a ton of amateur fights,
I
but
saw his first fight. For his first
yeah,
pro fight,
he's
he didn't really look. Yeah, he
yeah. I've
didn't.
seen both of his thus far. Now I think he has two. I've seen both of them, and he's just not very polished. But I think he didn't have much of an amateur career.
Yeah, he's very young. Very young.
He had a limited number of fights on the amateur side, but yeah, I think the verdict's still out. They're gonna have to push him out, push him up slowly. They're gonna have to do it slowly because otherwise, he defensively he is not where he needs to be right now for sure. I think he put together some things offensively. You can see that he has some he has something there on the offensive side, but definitely defensively he's too limited. He's going to have to be pushed pretty slowly.
I think I saw the second fight as well, and I think he do a little better than in the first fight. I thought so. In the first fight,
Yeah,
he got hit quite a lot, especially in the early rounds. So,
yeah. And I know he went rounds in that second fight.
yeah,
Um, I think it went to full distance. Maybe both of his fights have
yeah,
gone
I
to full
think so.
distance.
Both maybe, yeah, but yeah,
But
he's like 19 or something. I don't know.
yeah, and it could be done, if of course, in matching him right as he's here early on in his pro career. But yeah, we'll see how it goes in
The
terms of
next
what he did.
generation, next gen.
Next generation, they say. But yeah, definitely a lot of good stuff. I was gonna mention the other thing with Inoue, so he'll take on the winner, I reckon, at some point. Of Nito Donaire versus John Riel Casimiro,
Very good.
which I think is going to be an exciting fight.
Yeah, Casimiro, the dark horse. You never know
Yes,
what
he
he's
stopped
gonna.
Zolani Teti.
Yeah, he's definitely a puncher. Definitely.
Yeah. So he was supposed to fight Guillermo Rigondeaux. So I don't know what happened, but Rigo is not fighting. But I thought that would have been a cool one to see Rigo against Casimiro. But yeah, I guess with Rigo, I guess he's not going to be fighting. So yeah, now it's going to be a Filipino clash.
Yeah,
And I think that hey, it's going to be interesting style clash because Donaire is a long bantamweight. I think that's where they're at,
yeah.
and it's just going to be interesting to see how
Casimiro was a
Casemiro.
super flyweight, I believe, before. Yeah,
Yeah,
Casimiro.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Superfly, yeah, and then
yeah,
Bantam. Yeah, I think Bantam.
we had all pretty much written off Donaire, but then he really surprised us. First against Inoue, and
Yeah,
now what was his last fight? I don't know, but he won it. Yeah, I believe.
yeah, he beat that Obali guy.
Oh yeah,
Obali,
yeah. He kind of
Rashid
yeah.
Warren.
And I saw that fight. Wow, that was some knockout. Wow.
I need to watch that one. That one I haven't seen.
All right. So I have something over you. A point for me against.
Oh yeah, you have plenty of other ones from the '90s and early 2000s as well. But yeah, I need to check that one out. But yeah, Donaire. Hey, you know what?
Fourth
I did
round.
not think that he would. I did not think he would be coming back like this at this stage of his career. But he had moved up, so he was facing some bigger guys and
Yeah,
bigger punchers. And
that's
but
why.
yeah, I really thought he was done after that Nicholas Walters fight, if you recall that one.
Yeah, and who else did he lose to after that? He also lost
Uh,
to.
I feel like Jesus Cuellar,
Yeah,
if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
that Argentinian guy. Yeah,
And Cuellar, of course, went seemingly just fell off a cliff from there, even though he
yeah,
looked good prior to that. But yeah, he lost to him. There was someone else I think he was in there with as well in a tough fight that he lost a
um,
decision to. I can't recall exactly. But yeah,
yeah. I can't remember, but for a while it seems he was really struggling, and then he just
But
found his mojo. I
yeah, he
guess.
moved back down in weight to
Yeah.
I guess where he found success.
Yep.
118,
Finally.
122 pound area. And,
Yeah.
yeah, he's back in that mix, So got to give it to him. And I didn't think he would actually make it to the finals of the World Boxing Super Series when he was in there either, So which is
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, that
So
was
props to Naoya.
quite an achievement.
Indeed, props to him in that regard. So yeah, outside of that, I thought those are the main ones. We did have that Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder press conference or lack
Yeah.
thereof that took place. I saw that. It was that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's a show always.
Oh
That
yeah,
was funny when Tyson said this is gonna be like somebody. I mean, he got run over by an eight wheeler or something,
oh yeah, 18 wheeler.
18 wheeler. So
They
it's
said he's
pretty
trying to
much,
get up to 300 pounds.
yeah, pretty much what you could expect him to say, of course. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, that fight is simply one that I didn't want to see, of course, being made. So,
yeah.
yeah, of course. Oh, there's
Here,
always, yeah. I mean, the big problem is we have seen Fury take Wilder's hardest shot and just get up. I mean, he didn't get up, of course, in that last round of the first fight. He took some
yeah,
time, but he did get up in time,
yeah. He did.
and
He
he
did.
just went right back at it like nothing happened.
And he closed the fight in impressive fashion.
So, what can Wilder do now? That's like almost 3 years ago. That fight was.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat of a facade in the sense that we've been seeing a lot of these Wilder with all these videos of him in training,
Yeah,
sort of looking the part. Just thinking about it from uh, how he actually moves and showing that hey, I can actually box. Look at me when I'm hitting these pads.
yeah.
But we'll see what actually takes place when the fight actually kicks off, though.
Was it was it Malik Scott or who is his?
Yeah, Malik
Yeah,
Scott is his trainer
yeah. So yeah,
and his
Malik.
spokesperson, apparently.
So he got pretty angry at Tyson because he was kind of trying to say, "Oh, he's not. That's not going to help him. He didn't
Yeah,
really learn to box." So Scott was like, "Oh, you can't say he didn't learn to box. You didn't see, so that."
yeah. Well, history has shown us that it's definitely hard to turn it around this late in your
Yeah,
career.
that plate really can't be done. I mean,
It's gonna be history or the anomaly. I gotta go with the side of history, but we'll
yeah,
see. We'll see if Wilder's able to land one of those big punches, and we'll see how
yeah.
it reacts.
Maybe this time it will be slightly less one-sided than last time. That's all I can see. That maybe Wilder can maybe hurt Tyson once or twice, but in the end, I don't see him winning yet. So I don't see
Yeah,
it going down much differently than last time.
yeah. I
Me,
would think that Wilder's best chance is catching Fury cold immediately as the fight starts.
yeah.
That's his best chance because I don't see him faring too well as it continues to go on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the problem for Wilder was when Fury learned to punch, how to maximize his power, because in the first fight he wasn't able to really hurt him, of course.
Yeah,
So when he was finally able to hurt him, that was the end, for Wilder. So
yeah. And thinking about it, yeah, that could be a knock on Fury's career thus far. Just think about if he could punch when he faced like Klitschko and others.
yeah,
Just think about if he had that punch in the mix. And
yeah,
hey, he may be getting seemingly. Hey, he's one of those fighters that you can legitimately say is getting better. So
hmm.
I don't see how far. Yeah, Wilder has a puncher's chance, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, Fury is so determined and he really works hard, and he is out there running, almost every day. And
Yeah. He's focused.
yeah, because before he didn't really, he was doing a lot of, stuff, funny stuff like before he had that breakdown, but now he's
Yeah,
really a changed man. You can see that this really means something to him, boxing. Yeah, being a
without a
champion.
doubt.
Yeah, so
Yep, without a doubt. All right, so we've done at it. Hour 5 minutes
yeah,
right there.
not bad.
We call it a day.
Yeah, we might just as well do that.
Cool. So on one of these next episodes, I think July 11th, I'm gonna. There's this artist. His name's Fabian. Released this album. Gonna do a little interview with him.
Oh, nice, cool,
We'll see how it goes, but I want to shout that out.
good luck.
Fabian, July 11th.
Yeah,
I'll shoot you the album so you can check it out.
all right, cool.
Slaven.
Yeah,
All
sure.
right. On behalf of 86 Boxing Haven, hey, have a good one, everyone.
Yeah.